Good morning, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Hectoria. I'm glad you're here. Today's video is talking about non-sufficient funds or overdraft fees. If you would like to know a little more about those and how to avoid having those occur, go ahead and stay tuned. So what is non-sufficient fund or what is an overdraft fee? Okay, I've heard those terms used interchangeably. There is a difference. So I'm going to use an example to show you guys what the difference is. So let's say you only have $100 in your bank account. You decided to write a check for $120. Now the check gets to your bank. They decide, you know what, I'm going to honor the check, and they let that check slide through. You would get charged for overdraft fees because the bank decided to go ahead and pay the merchant. So they went ahead and paid the $120, knowing you only had $100 in your bank account. So now you will now have a negative $20 on your bank. When you log in, you'll have a negative $20. And then the bank decides, you know what, I am going to charge you $35, or it could vary depending on your bank. I'm going to charge you $35 because you didn't have the full amount of money to cover the $120 check. So that one transaction is now $155. Okay, so that's overdraft fees. Let's talk about non-sufficient fund. Same scenario. You got $100. You wrote a $120 check. That check reaches your bank. Your bank says, nope, we're not going to cover it. She doesn't have enough money. So they return the check. They don't cover the check. Because you wrote a bad check, the bank is going to charge you $35. And again, I'm only using what my bank charges. The bank charges you $35. And now the merchant that was waiting for that check to get cleared says, oh, this is a bad check? Okay, I'm also going to charge you $35. On top of that, you still have to pay the $120 that you owe them. So wrap your head around that. So a check or a transaction that was only supposed to cost you $120 has now cost you $35 from one bank, $35 from the merchant, which is $70, plus the fact that you owe $120. So now you are negative $190. That is the difference. So one, the bank with overdraft, the bank will honor the amount, and then you pay the difference, and then they charge you. It's kind of like a don't do it again penalty, right? The other, with non-sufficient fund, the bank says, nope, we're not going to touch this. And then they charge you anyway, and so does the merchant. In 2019, the bank reaped $11 billion in overdraft fees. And they found that 84% of the people charged with overdraft fees were those that had a low balance or low monthly deposits. My first tip is to make sure your paycheck is direct deposited. It's 2020, y'all. I don't even know who is getting. If you do not have direct deposit, please get direct deposit. My paycheck hits my account at 2 a.m. Okay? That is convenient. Everyone's sleeping, my money hits there safely. So if I go make a purchase the next day, I can be sure to have my money there versus a check that you have to go pick up or wait for it to get mailed, drive to the bank, then cash it, and sometimes you have to wait. No, do direct deposit. My second tip to you is to sign up for online banking. Okay? Again, technology is trying to make our lives easier if we would just use it. If you sign up for online banking, you can pull up your account anywhere that you are. Heck, I can even pull it up on my Apple Watch, okay? It will at least show you what has already gone through, what is still pending, and you can get an accurate balance on how much is in your account before you make a purchase. So online banking will save you a lot of headache, and it keeps you informed. Some of you don't want to hear the B word. You don't want to hear it. You're so over it. You hear us talk about it all the time. Budget. Budget in order to track your expenses. A lot of these non-sufficient funds and charges is because you made a purchase that you forgot or you didn't track, or maybe you thought you had more money, but then you forgot that you wrote a check, 2 days ago to someone else. So you have to track it, guys. You have to do a budget. You have to be able to check off what has already come off your budget, and you know what is pending. It just, guys, a budget is your spending plan. If you have a plan for what is being spent on, chances are you won't go over, or you won't suddenly forget that you made a purchase. Okay? I can overemphasize budget. Budget, budget, budget. Do your budget, track your expenses. If you want to stop wasting money, you have to track where your money is going. My bank has a balance alert feature, and I'm sure your bank could if you call them and ask them. What that does is it allows you to get a notification when your bank account is below a certain amount. So I have mine set for, I think it's $100. I have mine set for $100. So anytime my bank account goes below $100, I get a notification. And depending on what's going on that month, I'm like, oh, okay, I do need to, I need some money. If not, it just notifies you and you're aware that, okay, maybe I don't need to be making any more purchases because we're cutting down to the wire. So one thing I tell people that is really helpful is to make sure your auto pays are aligned with your pay dates. So if you get paid on the 15th and the 30th like me, make sure your bills and your due dates are surrounding those dates, okay? Because it just makes life a little easier for you. So one of my biggest pet peeves is when I write a check to someone and they don't cash it for like 2-3 weeks. Oh my goodness. It drives me crazy. I'm like, go ahead and cash the check, please. If that's you and you're watching this video, cash the check. When I write things, I want it out of my budget. I want to cross it off. I want to wrap it up with a neat bow, and I'm done with it. So if you write checks, and this can happen to anyone, people forget, or they just, life happens. You're busy, you wrote a check, and then you think you're doing a great job with your budget, only for that check to hit like 2 months later and you're screwed. So avoid checks if you can, but mostly use cash. Important bills, if you can automate it, go ahead and do so. But everything else, use cash. And the reason is they can't charge you a non-sufficient fund if it's not going through your bank account. Use cash. So these are things that have worked for non-sufficient funds. But if you've done all of that, and unfortunately, life happens and you still find yourself in a position where you got a non-sufficient fund, that stuff hurts. That is money, literally, you are throwing your money away. So here's what I would suggest to you. If this is not a pattern that you have, if this is something that just happened once in a blue moon, you can call up your bank and you can reason with them. You can say, hey, I've been a customer with you guys for, 3 years. I've never bounced a check. I have never had an overdraft fee. What can we do about this not sufficient fund? And I promise you, if you are not on the naughty list, they will go ahead and take it off your account for you. Okay? They might even suggest that you put in an overdraft protection plan. What is that? So some accounts, you have a checking and your savings. So if you left that cushion that we talked about, if you left, or you had some safe amount in savings, if you ever go into overdraft, they can simply pull from that account into your checking account so that you don't ever go into overdraft. But your bank is willing to help you, but they have to know what the problem is. If you don't talk to them, they're not going to be able to help you. And I promise you, they will take off that $35, assuming this is not something you do all the time. So I hope, that's it. That's, guys, don't waste your money on non-sufficient fund or overdraft fees. It adds up. Every dollar adds up. If you are trying to get out of debt, you cannot afford to spend $35 to $100 on non-sufficient fees. So get a budget, do the things that I've suggested in the video, and talk to your bank if it happens. All right? Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in my next video. Take care.